We begin today with a brand new challenge for the month of May. My guy Tyler Smith, the fake Tyler here at Chat Sports, has challenged us to a sub battle between the Chiefs Report and Bills Breakdown. They're one of our newer channels here at Chat Sports, and I would love nothing more to destroy them, just like what we did in the AFC Championship game. So you could call this a rematch already between the Chiefs and the Bills. They're our most hated team these days. So here's where we're at to start things. It is 0-0, first quarter. Let's come out of the gates firing and get that opening drive touchdown. For the latest happenings on your Kansas City Chiefs throughout the offseason, daily news and rumors, live shows each and every Tuesday, along with breaking news, Q&A mailbags, and more. You got to be subscribed. Subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/ChiefsTV. We'll get started with today's show. Glad to have you with us here on the Kansas City Chiefs Report. I am your fearless leader, Tyler Gillotte, here with you. Thanks for stopping by. Highway robbery is the topic of today's show as Brett Veach pulled off some highway robbery in the 2025 NFL Draft. We will go over each and every pick, give you our thoughts, and talk about how Brett Veach pulled off such a fantastic draft class in 2025 and talk about our expectations for what's ahead. In Veach we trust has been a mantra that has been adopted by Chiefs fans over the last several seasons as Brett Veach has helped guided this Chiefs team to 3 Super Bowl titles in the midst of a dynasty, and now they're looking for more. And with where the Chiefs were at heading into this offseason, there was a lot of challenges that were ahead for this team when it came to the salary cap and trying to hang on to some of the players that they had. But from keeping Trey Smith and Nick Bolton to this draft class, Brett Veach did an incredible job. And as the kids would say, I think Veach was in his bag this draft. The way that he was able to orchestrate this draft class from top to bottom. And he talked about going into this offseason that they felt like that their free agency was going to be what they did in the NFL draft. And I think they found some quality talent that's going to be here for a long time and make an impact in numerous ways. Let's go ahead and recap the Chiefs draft results. They traded down from 31 to 32 with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they were able to snag up Josh Simmons, the offensive lineman from Ohio State. They followed that up in the second round with the selection of Omarr Norman-Lott, the defensive tackle from Tennessee. A couple of picks later, they got some more help on the defensive side of the ball as they selected Ashton Gillotte, the edge rusher from Louisville, there at 66. And then they had another third-round pick at 95. They selected one of my favorite players of this draft for Kansas City. That was Nohl Williams, the corner from California, at 95. Then in the fourth round, Veach goes receiver as he was able to snag up Jalen Roley, the wide receiver from Utah State, who was extremely productive. He's very fast, a very good route runner. He'll play a crucial role in this Chiefs offense. Then in the fifth round, they went linebacker with Jeffery Bassa, who I was surprised fell as low as he did. And I think that he's got the makings at some point to be a starting caliber linebacker in this league, a former all Big Ten selection. And then in their final pick, the Chiefs go running back as they went with Brashard Smith out of SMU at 228, making Clark Hunt happy, getting an SMU pony with that pick and also helping out the running back position, something that they needed to address in this draft. And speaking of needs, I think when we look back at this draft and the 7 selections that were made, this is what Kansas City needed to do. And they did not double up on any position. They focused on their needs and found players that fit exactly what they were looking for. All in all, this was a complete draft on the part of Brett Veach, and I think there's reason to be excited for what is to come with this group going forward from here. So let's ask you, are you all in on Brett Veach? Was it highway robbery? Did he do it again? I think he did. It's our pinned comment today. Do you believe in Brett Veach? Type B for believe, D for don't. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Let us know what you think. Type B for believe, D for don't. So let's talk about these picks one by one here. And we begin with Josh Simmons. And the thing that I keep going back to with Josh Simmons is that it was the health factor of why he slipped to the 32nd selection. And I believe if Simmons can stay healthy here and fully recover, then there is a pretty decent chance that he turns out to be the best offensive lineman in this entire draft. And I don't know exactly what his role is going to be in 2025, whether they play him at tackle or guard, but all indications are he is going to be in that starting lineup in some way, shape, or form. And you think about even long-term, Jawan Taylor probably not back after this season. Simmons would be a natural fit to slide into that role. I think they did a fantastic job getting Josh Simmons, and I'm excited to see what he has here in Kansas City for many years to come. Then with the second-round selection of Omarr Norman-Lott, who they brought in from Tennessee, this to me was about preparing for the future. That's obviously what a big part of the NFL draft is. But you think about this. Chris Jones, I love Chris Jones, future Hall of Famer, one of the best players to ever wear the uniform in this organization. But here's the truth of the matter when it comes to Chris Jones. He is not getting any younger. And as he gets older, you are going to need to ask Chris Jones to do less. That way, he can stay fresher, he can stay healthy. We saw him get banged up a little bit last year. And so by having a guy like Omarr Norman-Lott, who was never a full-time starter at Tennessee, just in the rotation and be able to give some snaps off for Chris Jones and maybe even play with Chris Jones, I think is going to do wonders for this defensive line. We saw what the Philadelphia Eagles did with their D-line in the Super Bowl, and I think the Kansas City Chiefs want to do that exact same thing, and Omarr Norman-Lott gives them some depth to be able to do that and help out Chris Jones in the process. Now, you go to the 66th selection. Ashton Gillotte, the edge rusher from Louisville. I'll be honest with you. This was my least favorite draft pick of all the selections that Brett Veach made. As you look at the statistics, his numbers were down significantly when it came to sacks year over year from 2 years ago to last season. But even with that said here, his pressure rate was nearly identical. He just wasn't finishing the job like he was the year before. And you'll hear people like John Gruden and others say, I don't care about pressures. I want to get sacks, get the man to the ground. And Gillotte took a bit of a step back in that sense. But even with that said, you can never have too many pass rushers. We are at this point where King Felix, I don't know if he'll ever develop. You could use some more guys in there to at least rotate and have some depth at that position. Even the pick I don't like the most of all these, I don't hate too much with going with Gillotte here. I can live with it of that being the worst pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. And some people like Gillotte a lot. I know I'm not in that camp, but there was a report from The Athletic this week that a lot of teams were interested in selecting him. And so you talk about highway robbery. You got a guy that several teams had their eyes on. You were able to take him away. Then you go to pick 95, and this is one of my favorite picks. From my least favorite to one of my favorites in a Nohl Williams out of Cal, who had 7 interceptions last season. You want to talk about production, it was there. And I think that right away, Nohl Williams has a chance to compete for one of the starting outside corner spots because, let's face it, we don't know right now if Jalen Watson is coming back or not, if they are going to trade him and try to get something out of him potentially, as Brett Veach has never re-signed a homegrown defensive back. We expect that to change with Trent McDuffie, but you have Christian Fulton there into the fold. Obviously McDuffie is there, and he's going to probably move back to the starting nickel spot. But Nohl Williams, I think, is a guy that with his size, athleticism, and his production, there's no reason why he can't compete and potentially be one of your starting outside corners right away. I think the sky's the limit with this guy. I had him higher than 95. I was surprised that Kansas City was able to get him there. Should Nohl Williams start for Kansas City week 1 at outside corner? Or does he still need more time? Maybe you like one of the other guys better. Weigh in, let us know. Type Y for yes, in for no. Chime in the comment section and make the call. Speaking of rookies, we got a great deal we're offering Chiefs fans right now. Chiefs rookie jerseys are on sale right now at chatsports.com/Chiefs jerseys. We're waiting to see what Josh Simmons' number is exactly going to be. But once we get that number, then when you order the jersey, you can get the jersey with his number on it. And quite frankly, I don't think there's a better time to get his jersey than right at the start of his tenure here in Kansas City. Whether it's him or another rookie or maybe another Chiefs player, maybe you need another Mahomes or Kelsey jersey for that matter, they are all available at chatsports.com/Chiefs jerseys. That's where you can get those. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Also, other Chiefs merchandise available at that same link. Go see for yourself now at chatsports.com/Chiefs jerseys. Let's go to pick 133 now, Jalen Royals. And this might be the most exciting pick that the Kansas City Chiefs made of all the players that they brought in. He is so explosive. He brings that 4.4 speed to the table, and he's really going to help out this receiver room. I think the Chiefs were looking at the receiving core and saying to themselves, it's good. We have some question marks, but this isn't our biggest priority, at least right now. And so you wait to the fourth round and get a guy in Royals who was a little bit banged up, but outside the injury, the production's there. Not against the greatest competition in the Mountain West Conference. But even with that said, I think that it will bring some energy to that receiving core. I think he offers something different than the other receivers that are there. Patrick Mahomes has said that he wants to stretch the field vertically more, get back to what they did several years ago when Tyreek Hill was around. I think Jalen Royals presents that opportunity to be able to do that. Then you go to pick 156 with Jeffery Bassa out of Oregon. And Jeffery Bassa, here's one thing I really like. He is an outstanding coverage linebacker. And as big of a fan I am of Nick Bolton, and I think Nick Bolton's one of the best linebackers that the league has to offer, the big struggle with Nick Bolton has been in coverage. Nick Bolton's had his problems there. And so whether I put Bassa on the field with Bolton or if I take Bolton off the field in those passing down situations and bring Bassa in, now I have some flexibility to potentially make that work. And I think that there's a good chance that down the line he could work his way into being a starting linebacker in this league. The accolades were there. He was an all Big Ten guy. He looks the part. I thought it was a good pick to still find him there in the fifth round when they did. The last pick the Kansas City Chiefs made at 228 was Brashard Smith. And he is a little bit small at 5'9", but he brings a lot of speed to the table. He is a different back than Pacheco and Hunt. And one of the things that I had talked about was that we expected the Chiefs to draft a running back, but I wanted that running back to be different than Pacheco or Hunt. I know some people were connecting them with Caleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa, but that was somebody I said, hey, Caleb Johnson's a good back, but he's the exact same type of back as Pacheco and Hunt. Brashard Smith, the speedster, the breakaway speed, that'll be a nice change of pace from the other backs. And then another thing, too, Brett Veach talked about the pre-draft process, that whatever running back they drafted, they wanted somebody that had the ability to help out on special teams and return coverage. And Brashard Smith was used extensively over the years in the kick return game. You lost that with Samaje Perine moving on. So Brashard Smith, you killed two birds with one stone. You got what you were looking for in a running back, and you also got some help in special teams, and used a seventh-round pick to make it happen. Was Brashard Smith my favorite running back in the draft? Far from it. But I think he's a good football player, and I think he meets what Kansas City needed. Let me ask you this. Who will be the best player of the Chiefs draft class? Of these 7 names that we just mentioned, who will be the absolute best? Give me your name in the comments section and let us know. Now, here we are, however many years into this run of the Mahomes, Kelsey, Andy Reid, Chris Jones, Brett Veach era in Kansas City. And last year was supposed to be the year, right? Everybody was talking about that, hey, they needed to capitalize because times could get tough ahead for the salary cap situation the Chiefs found themselves in. Well, now we sit here today, and I think even with the departures of Joe Thuney and Justin Reid, that this team is better than last year's squad. And that's great to hear, because last year's squad, as good as they were not good enough to win the big enchilada when it mattered. And so now this team is improved. It's a better roster than a year ago, and there's no excuses for this group. I think that, even though the faces change, the expectations don't, as Bill Self will be the first to tell you. I think that it's still Super Bowl or bust, and that we have every reason to think that this team should be on top of the AFC and, quite frankly, the NFL, for that matter, entering 2025 as the favorites once again. For continuing Chiefs coverage, subscribe now to the Kansas City Chiefs Report for free, youtube.com/ChiefsTV. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.